Hello, welcome to HITC Sport, and Cristiano Ronaldo's Manchester United career is over. It's done. This is a man who's won 5 Ballon d'Ors, and already this season he's been left on the bench twice by 2 of his former less talented teammates. 2 men with a combined tactical knowledge of a goldfish. I'm sorry, but when a team sheet is read out, and you hear that you've been dumped on the bench beside Juan Mata and Phil Jones, for a global superstar like Ronaldo, that's like if Elvis Presley was still alive, to hear that his music can't get played on Radio 1 because it's already clogged to the brim with Ed Sheeran and Niall Horan, with his classics instead being stuffed on the same radio station as a yodeling Swedish housewife and a radio DJ who constantly sneezes into the mic. But not only that, right? But Manchester United have appointed one of the only men in world football who doesn't actually salivate over the existence of Ronaldo or Messi. To Ralf Rangnick, these 2 footballing legends are just old men who can't play a style of football. For example, Ronaldo is 36 years of age. You might as well offer Rangnick the cremated remains of Sean Connery to stick him up front. Because honestly, watching Ronaldo's complete lack of counter-pressing, it probably forces this man to fetch up his morning toast in his mouth. Cristiano Ronaldo is probably close to ripping off his ears. Because this sort of player, an aging superstar, the epitome of a luxury footballer, that is a type of footballer who Rangnick would gladly see burned at the stake. Last summer, Rangnick was just a single sheet of paper away from taking the job at AC Milan, and he's admitted that he has no time for Zlatan Ibrahimovic as a player.
What you should be asking is, why did Milan turn to me? What do they want to do? Maybe they're looking for a change of direction. It's not my style to focus on a 38-year-old player, not because of talent, but because I prefer to create value and develop talent.
Yeah. When he was asked in 2016 about whether or not he'd like to sign Ronaldo or Messi for RB Leipzig, this was his response.
It would be absurd to think that I could work with them here. They are both too old and expensive.
Too old. That was 5 years ago, when Ronaldo was 31 years of age. So I'm guessing both he and Edinson Cavani are probably now seen in his eyes as nothing more than a couple of elderly pensioners who should be spending their days playing Scrabble on the porch. It's official. We're about to witness the death of Cristiano Ronaldo's Manchester United career. Rangnick's style is all about counter-pressing, but Ronaldo, he presses about as often as I take warm baths, and I smell like Bigfoot's armpits. Last season he was among the bottom 1% among forwards who press in Europe's major 5 leagues. And true enough, this season he presses defenders less than any other Premier League forward. Christian Benteke is about as mobile as a garden gnome made of cheese, and he still presses more than CR7, asking a footballing knight like Cristiano Ronaldo to track back, and he'll look at you the same way as if you just asked him to impregnate his sister on the back of a public bus. It's not happening. Is Ronaldo really going to change his way of playing? At 36 years of age, for the former boss of Hoffenheim, is Rangnick really going to be bothered to put up with him spending an hour waiting in the box for a cross? If Rangnick had wound up at the San Siro, then last summer we would have witnessed a footballing great like Zlatan Ibrahimovic all being dumped off to China or Japan. It's gonna be sad. Ronaldo's a Manchester United legend. He's an icon, but this sensible Rangnick approach is going to drive him out the door. For Rangnick, having to work with nearly 40-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo, the very thought of that probably gives him a heavy nosebleed at night. But Man United fans, I know, okay, having another interim coach, that probably makes you feel like ripping out your own spine. Interim. That was the whole problem in the first place. Except, this is different. 3 years ago, you brought in some sandwich pudding coach from Mold, a man whose tactical ideology was about as complicated as the plot to Where's Wally. This man was a managerial thumb. You could write down every one of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tactical insights on a napkin and still have enough space to draw every dinosaur off Jurassic Park. 3 years ago, you begged a bunch of Norwegian fishermen if you could borrow their coach. I'm sorry, but Manchester United asking to loan Mold as manager. How unbecoming is this? Where was your pride? It's like a multi-millionaire like Harrison Ford asking some homeless man for change on the bus before asking if he can nibble some of his shepherd's pie out of his lunchbox. A lunchbox is probably stained with cat piss. They call Solskjaer a genius for what he did at Molde, but I'm sorry, I was just forgetting that club's last 2 league titles both came when he was busy coaching in Britain, and coaching badly. Honestly, he's a nice man, but I think it's safe to say he was about as tactically suave as Dobby the house elf. So I can understand with the idea of another interim coach. That could probably paralyze you with fear. I mean, it's like growing up in an orphanage, and then you spend 6 months living in some family's bomb shelter, family who regularly feed you dog food for lunch, and stab your fingers in your sleep with a compass. After that ordeal, if anyone ever suggests the words foster family again, you're probably gonna spend the next 6 hours hyperventilating into an empty box of shreddies. But this is different. This isn't really an interim appointment. Good Christ if it was. Given just 6 months to sort out the team, I'm pretty sure Rangnick would have viewed the job offer as an insult. I mean, I don't care if it's Manchester United. An offer of just 6 months. He'd clearly rather eat a sandwich filled build a broken glass. Don't forget, Chelsea offered this man the role of interim coach after bidding Frank Lampard like a gone-off slice of pizza, and he very quickly said no.
I said I would love to come and work with you, but I cannot do it for 4 months. I am not an interim coach. To the media and players, you will be the 4-month manager, a lame duck from day one.
A lame duck? Christ above, he clearly has more pride and self-respect than Gus Hiddink then, cause he did the interim job at Chelsea twice. Then again, his last 2 jobs were also coaching the Curacao national team and China under-21s. I'm guessing if someone offered this guy a big fat paycheck to coach a children's volleyball team on the west coast of Haiti, he'd be signing up tomorrow. But this isn't an interim job or Rangnick will be out the door in June. No. This man is about to become the most powerful figure in Manchester United, moving into a consultancy role where he gets to decide his successor. This man is the godfather of German gegenpressing, influencing the likes of Jurgen Klopp and Thomas Tuchel, watching his disciples take over European football. They get all the credit, they're the ones heralded as geniuses, but this guy, oh no! Instead he's just been growing stale and bitter in a Russian boardroom. This man probably feels like he should be seen as one of the most brilliant footballing brains in the world, and yet Zlatan Ibrahimovic doesn't even know who he is. He is the Jurgen Klopp and Marcelo Bielsa is the Pep Guardiola. And I'm sorry, but for Manchester United, this is just ridiculously sensible. This is a club who for years have lurched around without a shred of a plan. Christ above, 2 years ago, the favourite for the job of technical director was Rio Ferdinand. I'm sorry, since retiring, what has he done to show that he'd be suited for the role? All he's ever done since leaving Old Trafford is watching his dignity slide down a toilet wall at QPR, get denied a pro boxing license 1 year before KSI was granted one. What else? He enraged a bunch of Newcastle fans by sticking up for Mike Ashley. Oh yeah, and told the world that Ollie was at the wheel. Clearly he's about as quick for this job as a mentally deranged squirrel. But Rangnick, while he was the sporting director for the Red Bull Twins in Salzburg and Leipzig, he took the ladder from the German 5th tier into the Champions League, and similarly with Salzburg, won the Austrian Bundesliga. While he was head of sport and development for Red Bull, their clubs rose in market value from 120 million euros to 1.2 billion. Billion! That is Heisenberg sort of money. But to me, Ralf Rangnick, he doesn't really seem like a Manchester United boss. He does seem fit for one English club, but it's not them. It's their mortal enemies. He has the DNA of Liverpool all over his Red Bull stinking hands. This is the man who signed Sadio Mane, Roberto Firmino, Naby Keita and Ibrahim Konate. This is a man who, while at Leipzig, confidently told the world he wouldn't swap Naby Keita for Paul Pogba. I'm sorry, that's the sort of debate had by 14-year-old kids on Twitter. And yet, Rangnick was siding with Keita. That is such a Liverpool opinion. Not only that, but Rangnick once scouted a teenage Joe Gomez while he was playing for Charlton in the Championship. He once took Joel Matip to within one game of a Champions League final. Not to mention, he actually wanted the Anfield job when they sacked Roy Hodgson 10 years ago. This man has his fingerprints all over Liverpool's modern day success. If he never existed, Liverpool would currently be a Europa League level club with the front line of Jared Bowen, Leon Bailey and Patrick Bamford, with a decrepit old donut like Carlo Ancelotti stuffed in the dugout. This man's influence is stamped all over English football. This is like the ghost of Christmas past. If he never existed, Chelsea wouldn't be the kings of Europe. No, they'd still be a disorganized Scotch pudding mess, coached by a wet blanket like Nuno Espirito Santo. I mean, this is brilliant news for Manchester United. Rangnick is a man who scouts youth. First of all, Emil Smith-Rowe is an Arsenal superstar now, but this guy was signing him for Leipzig 2 years ago, when most of the world thought that Smith-Rowe was about as exciting a talent as a chewed up lump of Weetabix. This man who signed Sadio Mane for £3.4 million. What? This is a man who looks outside the box. First of all, Mane was 20 years old and had just been relegated to France's equivalent of League One with Metz. I'm sorry, but who was looking at a struggling teenage winger being outshunned by Anthony Knockaert in the French second tier? It was genius. He pinched Erling Haaland for £6 million. Now he's worth about $1/10 billion. Naby Keita was a £1.2 million signing. Joshua Kimmich, one of the best players in the world, and yet he's stolen from Stuttgart's academy for £350,000. Stayed Upamecano cost less than £2 million when he plucked him from the academy of Valenciennes in League 2. Again, I'm sorry, who is scouting the French second division? When was the last time Manchester United scouted an unknown player who went under the radar from the attention of the other top clubs from an obscure league who actually turned into a superstar? And don't you dare say Adnan Januzaj. He's got the end product of a lump of scrambled egg. Nah, the last one was when you took a 15-year-old Paul Pogba from Le Havre 13 years ago. I mean, that was the same year you also signed Johnny Mikel from out the mountains of Norway when he was a Manchester United player for all of about 30 minutes. But where's this extensive worldwide scouting progress at Manchester United it been? They don't have one. Instead, they're the type of club who'd lazily chuck £15 million at some wet weasel from Swansea. It's a club who had to beg Odion Gallo to come back from China. But Rangnick, this is the man who coughs out bargains in his sleep. This is the guy who discovered Demba Ba in 2007 when I guarantee none of you knew he existed. Back then, he was just some injury-prone sausage roll centre forward who'd failed trials at Barnsley, Swansea and Gillingham. Most people were probably telling Demba Ba to go get a job selling ice cream out of a van because clearly football wasn't for him. And yet, Rangnick took him from Belgium to Hoffenheim for just £2.5 million. This man took Timo Werner out of Stuttgart's academy for just £8 million. Danish striker Yusuf Poulsen was a £1.3 million signing from Lyngby Book Club. The guy plucked Bobby Firmino out of some Brazilian village farm. And he signed the Belarusian goat Alexander Hleb from Bate Borisov. And he went on to play for Barcelona. Right now, this man is probably employing scouts to go watch local football matches in the Himalaya mountains. Christ of all, he's probably got scouts scaling the insides of dormant volcanoes to find any breathing life forms who might be able to trap a ball. I mean, anything's gotta be better than Luke Shaw. This man loves young British talent, and not in the Gary Glitter way. Christ of all, he was only in the door 5 minutes of Lokomotiv Moscow this summer, and they already got Tino Andrew from Chelsea on loan. Mark my words, in 3 years, that man is going to be in the same position as Smith Rowe is now. Rangnick, he just discovers talent before it's cool. Christ of all, he was probably listening to Harry Styles in 2008, tuning in to listen to him on a school goddamn radio. He probably spotted the Friends cast before 1994 when they were all on other terrible shows. According to Rangnick, he actually met Jadon Sancho in a sweaty hotel room 3 years ago and he was trying to persuade him to ditch Man City for RB Leipzig before anybody at Manchester United even knew who he was. I'm sorry, what was he, 16 years of age? How did you try to convince him? Try to lure him into the back of your van with sweets? I mean, my uncle tried that once. All I wanted was 3 Milky Ways and a packet of fruit pastilles. Not a lifetime of waking up at 3 AM screaming. I'm guessing Sancho's probably glad now that he didn't sell out his career to a bottle of Red Bull, because Christ above, placing the formative teenage years of his career into the hands of a defensive omelette like Ralph Hasenhüttl, it's a scary thought. It's like finding out your teenage son has a geography teacher who used to strangle cats outside a church. I mean, the club then went and signed a British young talent like Adamola Lookman instead of Sancho, which is a bit like walking into a restaurant, being denied the steak sandwich, and so you then agreed to chew a plate of donkey knob. But at the risk of sounding like a football hipster who irons his own shoes, Rangnick does not get the footballing respect he deserves. I'm not sure why. This is a guy who took a Hoffenheim team, stuffed it in the German third tier, and had them in a Bundesliga title race. In 2011, he had Schalke in the Champions League semi-finals. All he gets is a sad little email from West Brom. I'm sorry, this is a man who's coaching Manuel Neuer and Raul, asking him to then coach Liam Ridgewell and Shane Long? Oh, just utterly insulting. This is a man who's in the frame for the England job in 2016. The English FA were actually interviewing both him and Steve Bruce from Hull for the same job. When he saw him in the waiting room, he must have felt like stabbing himself in the eye with a fork. That just never happened. He is the godfather of gegenpressing. Steve Bruce probably thinks that gegenpressing is a type of Swedish chocolate cake. If they had given the job to Rangnick, he would have got England to that World Cup final. And so finally, the man is finally given recognition in English football. Well done, Rangnick. But you know what? Well done, Manchester United. This is a brilliant, sensible choice. But it comes with a sacrifice. Ronaldo's gone next summer. Anyway, that's me. Let me go. What do you think? Alright, I have a rating. Let me know in the comments below. Enjoy the video. Don't forget to subscribe. As always, I'll talk to you in a while.